Her American cousin saying Tam O'Shanter. She's a cousin because her surname is Murphy, so she's welcome to the family, but she's too clever and she's won too many prizes. Crack on, love. Go.
When Chapman Villiers leave the street and drouthy neighbours meet, as market days are wearing late and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit boozing at the nappy and getting foo and unco happy, we think not on the Lang Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slats, and stiles that lay between us and our hame, where sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brows like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam O'Shanter, as he from Ayr a night did canter, all there who ne'er a town surpasses for honest men and bonny lasses. Ah, Tam, had thou but been so wise as taken thy own wife Kate's advice, she told thee weel thou was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum, that frae November till October, a market day thou wasna sober. That ilka melder with the miller, thou sat as long as thou had siller, for every nag was cat a shoe on, the smith and me got roaring foo on. And that at the Lord's house, even on Sundays, thou drank with Kirkton Jean till Mondays. She prophesied that later soon thou would be found drowned deep in Doon, or catched with warlocks in the murk by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Gentle dames, it gars me greet to think how many counsels sweet, how many lank and sage advices the husband from the wife despises. But to our tale, a market night, Tam had got planted unco right, fast by an ingle, bleezing finely with reeman swats that drank divinely, and at his elbow, suitor Johnny, his ancient trusty drouthy crony. Tam loved him like a very brother. They had been foo for weeks together. The night drave on with sang and clatter, and aye, the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours, secret, sweet, and precious. The suitor told his queerest stories, the landlord's laugh was a ready chorus. The storm without might rear and ristle. Tam didn't mind the storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man so happy, even drowned himself among the nappy. As bees flee home with laid's treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, over all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. He sees the flower, the bloom is shed, or as the snow falls in the river, a moment white and then melts forever. Or like the borealis race that flit ere you can point their place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, a-vanishing amid the storm. Nay man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches Tam and ride. That hour, a night's black arch the key stayed. That dreary hour he mounts his beast in, and sick a night he tacks the road in, as ne'er poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blown its last, the rattling showers rose on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep, and lang the thunder bellowed. That night, a child might understand, the deal had business on his hand. Well mounted on his grey mare Meg, better never lifted leg, Tam skelped on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er some old Scots sonnet, while glowering round with prudent cares lest bogles catch him unawares. Kirk Alloway was drawing nigh, where ghaists and hoolits nightly cry. By this time he was crossed the ford, wherein the snaw the chapmen moored, and past the Burks and Micklestane, where drunken Charlie Brack's neck bane, and through the winds and by the cairn where hunters found that murdered bairn, and by the thorn of Boone the Well where Mungo's mother hanged herself. Before him Doon pours all his floods, the doubling storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash from pole to pole, near and more near the thunders roll, when, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirk Alloway seemed in a blaze. Through ilka board the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou can make us scorn. With Tiffany we fear no evil, with Uskabay we'll face the devil. The swats say reamed in Tommy's noddle, fair play cared na deals a bottle. But Maggie stood right sair astonished, till by the heel and hand admonished she ventured forward on the light, and vow, Tom saw an unco sight. Warlocks and witches in a dance, ne cotillion new from France, but hornpipes, jigs, strathspeys, and reels put life and metal in their heels. A winnock bunker in the east, their saddle neck in shape of beast, A towsy tyke, black, grim, and large, to give the music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and guard them squirrel, till roof and rafters a dirl. Coffins stood round, like open presses, that show the dead in their last dresses. And by some devilish cantrip slight, each in its cold hand held a light, by which heroic Tam was able to note, upon the holy table, a murderer's banes and gibbet irons, twa span long wee unchristened bairns, a thief new cutted from a rape, with his last gasp his gab did gape, 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, whom his own son of life bereft, the grey hairs yet stuck to the heft, with more, horrible and awful, that even to name was beyond lawful. 3 lawyers' tongues, turned inside out, with lies seemed like a beggar's clout. 3 priest hearts, rotten, black as muck, like stinking vile in every nook. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they cleek it, till Ilka Carlin swat and reek it, and coosed her duddies to the work, and link it at it in her sark. Now Tam, oh Tam, they've been queens, plump and strappin' in their teens. Their sarks instead of creasy flannin' been snow-white 700 linen. These breaks of mine, my only pair, that ain't were plush with good hair, I would have given them off me hurdies for a blink of the bonny birdies. But rigwoody hags, old and droll, weathered beldams would speen a foal, looping and bringing on a crummock. Wonder it did not turn thy stomach. But Tam kenned what was what for brawly. There was a winsome wench, and Wally that night enlisted in the corps, long after Canton Carrick shore. For many a beast to dead she shot, and perished many a bonny boat, and shook both mickle corn and beer, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cuddy sark, a paisley heron, that well a lassie she had worn, in longitude though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vaunty. Little kenned thy reverend granny the sark she caught for her wee nanny, with twelpence Scots was all her riches, would ever grace a dance of witches. Here my muse her wing must cower, sick blights are far beyond her power, to sing how Nanny lap and flang, a supple jade she was and strang, and how Tam stood like ane bewitched, and thought his very eyne enriched. Even Satan glowered and fidged fu fain, and hotched and blew with might and main, till first a caper, sign another, Tam tint his reason altogether, and roars out, "Weel done, Cuddy Sark!" And in an instant all was dark, and scarcely had he Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied, as bees bizz forth with angry fight, when plundering herds assail their bike, as open pussy's mortal foes, when pop she starts before their nose, or as eager runs the market crowd, when "Catch the thief" resounds aloud, so Maggie runs, the witches follow, with many an eldritch screech and hollow. Ah Tam, they'll get thy fair, in hell they'll roast thee like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, Kate soon will be a woeful woman. Now do thy speedy utmost, Meg, to win the key stain of the brig. There at them thou thy tail may toss, a running stream they dare not cross, but ere the keystone she can make, the fiend a tail she has to shake. For Nanny far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. But little wished she Maggie's mettle. A spring brought off her master Hale, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin clocked her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now what this tale a truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son take heed. Whene'er to drink ye are inclined, or Cuddy Sarks run in your mind, think ye may buy the joy so dear. Remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.
Wow, fantastic! Well done, Amanda. How fabulous was that?
Unbelievable.